Top of the morning, fight fans. This is Curtaville with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Manny Robles and Andy Ruiz. Manny said something very, very interesting when spoken to about his new trainer, Eddie and Chepo Reynoso. He said Andy is under an excellent team where he can reshape his heavyweight journey. In Eddie Reynoso's fight camp, there are several world champions like Canelo Alvarez, Ryan Garcia. Thus, Andy Ruiz Jr. can benefit himself a lot from his new journey. He says that he does have the ability to become world champion again. But, okay, this is the but. He says there's something called discipline in the sport, and if you don't have it, I don't care. It doesn't matter where he trains, who trains him. You can bring back Angelo Dundee and Emmanuel Stewart back from the dead with Andy, but if the fighter doesn't want it, it won't matter. Wow. You know, some things was revealed with Andy that are very concerning. You know, he had the ability to stop Andy or Anthony Joshua, but he couldn't seal the deal in the rematch, meaning his game plan was solely on the element of surprise. But once it was up, he really didn't have anything that Joshua was worried about as far as being hurt by Andy. He came in 20 pounds heavier, 283 and some odd pounds. And it was one of those things where people blamed it on the weight. People blamed it on the fact that Joshua changed his style. But it was so many elements about that particular fight against Joshua to the point where if you take your eye off Joshua and you only focus on Andy Ruiz, what did he really do to win that fight, honestly? Like, what steps did he make to seal the deal in the second fight? A fight that he made twice as much money in. Nothing. He didn't do any of that. He might have hit the mitts a couple times when he finally decided to come around Manny Robles. But I remember when Manny himself was saying, well, I haven't seen Andy. He's been on a treadmill somewhere else. When I heard that, I was like, that's not a good sign. Why the hell is he over there and he should be where Manny is? Oh, but then yet you could go see the president in Mexico. But you couldn't train. Yeah, you brought your trainer. That's cool. But you can't train with your trainer. Those were bad signs. Okay? Him buying stuff, going out partying, hanging out with YouTube celebrities. Another bad sign. You're supposed to be training. I understand that you're living it up, and I think what Andy did was, he was like, I may never get this opportunity again, so I'm going to rock out with my out. Right? And party like there ain't no tomorrow, because tomorrow's not promised, and he doesn't know if he's going to get that opportunity, and I think he banked on that, knowing he's getting twice as much on top of what he already made. Okay, so that was a high career payday all by itself, the first fight. So it's one of those things where he felt, hey, I'm getting twice as much. I'm going to party. Corona, ven aquí. Comida, ven aquí. Bring all the food home. I want to eat it all. That's what he did. I think he partied himself out, but like Manny Robles said, it does go back to one key element, discipline. See, I think with Andy, I hate to say this because I was worried about this, but I have to be real. If Andy Ruiz, if he ever gets hungry again, it's going to be at a time where something had to happen to the point where he has none of the things that he's accomplished last year. In other words, people, he has to lose all the damn money to make him hungry again. He got to be like Joe Louis after the U.S. government screwed him over. That type of stuff, where he was broke, so he had to go back into the ring and fight. He had to be in the same position he was in when he left Bob Arum and went over to Al Heyman. Okay? So that's what he had to do. That's where he needs to be as a fighter, I feel. Because I think if Andy Ruiz you give him money, we've already seen what he's going to do. The discipline goes right out the window because there's no drive to make him disciplined for nothing. I've got the money. I've never had the money. So why would I train? Okay, yeah, I'm going to do the same song and dance. I know in my mind I can beat him. That's not good enough for me. And I'm going to just party and buy my kids cars, remote control cars, convertible cars, and buy my mama a house, me a house, everybody a damn house. He ain't never been to that. So why would he be motivated to do anything? Okay, to practice discipline. He doesn't. So in my mind, I think Andy Ruiz, the worst thing you can do for him to give him more money. The more money you give him, the worse in condition he's going to be. Now, I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. But there's a reason, again, that he's on the redemption list. Why? Because he gained all that damn weight for a rematch that he was favored in. Okay? People were doubting Joshua that, hey, man, Joshua's a hype job. He said it himself. Joshua really can't fight. He's not a good boxer. You know, he's robotic. He's stiff. He said all that and went in there and got outboxed by the stiff, slow dude that couldn't box nor fight. Facts. Then you turn down 2 fights this year. Facts. Now you're not even fighting anytime this year. Facts. So it's one of those things with Andy Ruiz, you know, and Manny Robles. And at first I thought Manny was kind of hating or whatever when you read the title. You know, it was like, oh, well, even dead trainers can't help him. You know, you think, okay, that's kind of derogatory, Manny. But then if you start dissecting the paragraphs, what he meant, you know, and he put a lot of key elements in there. You know, what he thought, the potential he's seen in Andy. He has potential. But it has to be because of a certain reason, I think. And the reason was because he was freaking broke. And because he was freaking broke, that gave him the desire to want to work out and have discipline. But I'm afraid, honestly, Manny may be right. Because if he gets in there with someone like Usyk or Joshua that decides to box him, anybody that can move, he may have problems if he doesn't know how to cut off the ring. Okay, he's not in there. He's with Canelo. Canelo doesn't really cut off the ring. You know, we've seen him fight Lara. We know Canelo, he's not that type of fighter. He's the type of fighter that wants you to come at him so he can set up his shots. See, everybody knows that Andy can thump, so nobody's really going to fight him like that. Joshua already cracked the Ruiz code by boxing him. Just box him. He has no neck. You ain't going to knock him out. You might drop him. You may or may not. But you may get dropped too. So don't exchange in a firefight with someone that's sturdy, that has that balance and that type of hand speed. Don't do it. It's not beneficial for you. Where you know you can take the easy route and just box them. Okay? So it's going to take, for Andy, it's going to take him possibly just going broke to rebuild him, lose it all, to rebuild himself, to understand, hey, I have to do this. Bring the Dillian White's fights. Bring me the Luis Ortiz fights. Bring me the Wilder fights if Wilder gets it back or if he loses. Bring me those fights because I need the money. That may be, at that point, he may get the desire to practice discipline. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about this particular video. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunching. Peace.